Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever it is for you. For me, it is just past midnight on Friday, February 28th, day 1100 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. I'm Peter Alexievich, and this is the news for Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Coming to you live from this major European capital that is currently under siege. I see the peeps are coming in. Hey, Darlene. I think I saw Fitz coming in. Fitz is the sponsor tonight. Thank everybody, Fitz, please. Thank you, Fitz. Fitz and I were talking last night. It has been hard to find sponsors of the live. So for the next week, I will run a special, $25, and you can have a shared sponsorship of the live. So for anybody who has not sponsored a live before, the PayPal information is in the bio there. Just $25, you and someone else can sponsor a live. Hey, Chris Carter, how you doing, buddy? Everybody thank Fitz. He's the sponsor of tonight's live. And the peeps are coming in. Hey, Feisty, Eli, Nightshade, Richard Prexis, Lars is here. Hey, Bobby. How you doing, buddy? Hey, G2. Nicola. The crew is coming in. So I'll tell you, man, it was loud last night in Kyiv. Boy, was it loud. One of the drones got through, and it was a high explosive drone. It hit a private house, a house that belonged to Tetiana Kulik and her husband. Tetiana is a well-known journalist here in Ukraine, and her husband, the very accomplished head of the Department of Surgery for Bogomets Medical University here in Kyiv. And so our deepest condolences go out to their families and the victims of all the families of all victims from last night's drone attack. Now, last night, the Russian Federation sent 166 drones of the Shahed 131, 136 class against the territory of Ukraine. 90 of them were shot down. 72 were repulsed with active countermeasures for a 97.6% interception rate. Just incredible work on behalf of the mobile defense units in Ukraine. Now, again, 97.6%, pretty fucking good, right? But 2.4% of those drones got through, and again, resulted in the deaths here in Kyiv of journalist Tetiana Kulik and her husband, Dr. Pavlo Ivanchev, the head of the Department of Surgery for the Medical University at Bogomets. So that was last night. I'll tell you, it was another sleepless night here. It was another big drone attack. And I was rocked out of bed at maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Bad one, very loud. Now, look, the expectation that we have is they're hitting us because it's winter. They're trying to hit the power grid. They're trying to freeze us in our beds at night, right? And terrorize the population into submission. The weather's getting warmer. It hit 40 today. It was like +4 here in Kyiv. So we may see these let up. One of the things that we're seeing less of these days are glide bomb attacks. And not only are we seeing less of them, they are less and less precise. Now, everybody here knows, right, if you follow this channel, you know what a glide bomb is. It's just a dumb World War II bomb that the Russians are slapping fins on, and they throw a sat-nav in the nose. So it becomes a precision-guided weapon, as long as it can talk to the satellite. A year and a half ago, we were begging NATO for F-16s to shoot down the planes that fire these bombs, to give the Ukrainians some kind of defense against these aerial bomb attacks. It looks as though the Ukrainians, once again, when they didn't get the help that we could have provided, used their ingenuity, their technical expertise, the engineers here, appear to have come up with some kind of electronic warfare solution for jamming or interfering with that sat-nav communication piece, because the precision of these things has gone to shit. And we're seeing the Russians use fewer of them in the last few weeks. Now, whether or not that trend will continue, whether or not the Ukrainians are in fact doing this, or if the Russians are experiencing some other problem of their own, we'll see over the next few weeks. But I must say, there does seem to be a real trend going on here. Russian advances have slowed to nothing, to advances measured in meters, not in kilometers, or even hundreds of meters. Additionally, the Ukrainians have taken back Russian positions in Zaporizhia, Toretsk, Pokrovsk, Chasiv Yar, south of Kupiansk around the Crimea line, Volchansk, and Kursk. While the Russians are grinding to a halt, the Ukrainians appear to be retaking Russian positions here and there. Maybe they're probing, looking for weaknesses, looking for where a breakthrough might be available. The Russian mill bloggers are increasingly resorting to desperate rationalizations. I had a laugh today, boy. I'm reading this one guy, and he's talking about how this war was never for territory. We don't need to take territory. We have Siberia. We have plenty of territory. This war is all about Russia's standing in the new global order. And remember, we're not just fighting Ukraine, we're fighting the whole world. Sam, I don't know, right? Like, I'm not a military guy. I am no expert. But when I look at what is happening, it sure does look like something is changing out there. We're seeing an uptick in Russian surrenders. We're seeing advances by the Ukrainians, or at least, if not advances, let's not call them advances. Let's call them what they are: the retaking of certain Russian positions. Now, there is word, I don't have this confirmed, so we don't want to make a big deal of it, and I don't know that it's entirely true. But there are some Ukrainian outlets that are claiming that the village of Kotny, just southwest of Pokrovsk, has been retaken. Now, we'll probably have confirmation or denial of that tomorrow. Hey, Travis, how you living, man? We'll probably have confirmation of that or rejection of that tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. I published a video today of a Russian mill blogger complaint about the lack of troops and reinforcements. This is an increasingly common complaint from these guys. And they're also complaining that the reinforcements that are being sent are often wounded who have not fully recovered, which is a bad sign, right? We know that Russian losses for the last 3 months have exceeded the rate of conscription by 17,000 men a month. And let's not forget, the Russians had to pull 70,000 men to go into Kursk, plus 12,000 North Koreans. Plus, it looks like more North Koreans are coming. South Korean intelligence has released satellite photos of the movement of North Korean troops into Russia on boats and helicopters. And so it looks like the gunners and artillery specialists are on their way to Kursk to run those 150 Koksan self-propelled howitzers that the North Koreans turned over to Russia. There's also those box trucks with the rocket launchers in them. We think Russia has 20 of those. And so it looks like the gunnery specialists, the rocket specialists, they're on their way. We don't know how many of them there are. We do not know. We also do not know what Russia paid for them. But it can be expected that they paid quite a bit of, I mean, it's not enough for a human life, but Russia's happy to pay it. Trump says Zelensky will be here tomorrow. Correct. His plane left Warsaw about 2 hours ago. It's en route to D.C. now. Thanks, Silva. You got me, Scotty. That's definitely above my pay grade. Chef Deb, Zelensky is on a plane on his way to the United States right now for a meeting tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. at the White House with Donald Jessica Trump, in which they will sign the framework for the rare earths minerals deal. Now, guys, if you follow this channel, all right, let's go back over it, right? Like, just so we're all on the same page here. Why, Tilda and Maggie, you are not wrong. See what Tilda and Maggie are saying there? War profiteering. Trump is so greasy. Right, Pedro? After the mineral deal, Zelensky is suddenly not a dictator anymore. Okay. So now, why is this minerals deal so important to everybody? There's a bunch of what we call rare earth minerals, right? Like neodymium, praseodymium, titanium, all of which have remarkable uses, but are extremely rare on the planet. Neodymium is a great example. Neodymium is absolutely essential in the creation of the magnets that are used in Teslas. I can tell you right now, by the best estimates, there is not enough neodymium on the planet to make a Tesla for every American, let alone everybody on the world that wants a car. It does not exist here. But likely 5% of it is in Ukraine. 60% of it is in China. And because China has the world's most well-known and proven resources for rare earths, they hold a virtual monopoly on them in the world. They absolutely hold a monopoly on their refining. The refining of these rare earths is extremely expensive and difficult to do. So, for example, lithium, right? Lithium batteries, absolutely essential for Musk to make Teslas. Well, the Shevchenko lithium deposit in eastern Ukraine, which is currently the front line literally runs right through the deposit. That deposit is an extremely rich deposit of lithium. And again, about 5% of the world's lithium is in Ukraine. What is the ratio of lithium in that earth? It's 1.24%. That means for every 100 tons of earth that you refine, you get about 1.25 tons of actual lithium. So that's an expensive process, right? And it's a complex process. Right now, 89% of the lithium refined on the planet is refined by the Chinese. The Chinese have a virtual monopoly, not only on the mining and production of lithium, but other countries that mine the ore ship it to China to be refined. Now, Trump is in a trade war with China, right? What did Trump do to China? Put a 10% tariff on all their goods, making all their goods 10% more expensive to buy. China responded by blocking the export of rare earth minerals to the United States. These minerals are, remember the CHIPS Act that Biden passed that got all those chip manufacturers to build production facilities in the US? Those production facilities will be coming online soon. They cannot function without rare earths. What is the point of building a $5 billion plant if you can't get the raw materials to build the circuit boards and chips that you need? That's what this is about. Breaking China's monopoly. And Putin and Trump seem very happy to sit back in their ivory towers and divvy up Ukraine as if the will and sovereignty of the Ukrainian people was not a real thing, or the interests of our European partners didn't matter. Zelensky, for his part, has been very clear. He said, quote, "I won't agree to even a 10% debt repayment in this deal with the US." He went on to say, "It's not about a lack of gratitude. We are grateful. And believe me, the Ukrainians are so grateful to Americans. It's very difficult sometimes to meet Ukrainians because just by being an American here, some Ukrainians treat me with a level of respect I do not deserve and have not earned. It's very embarrassing, very embarrassing." He goes on to say, Zelensky went on to say, that the weapons and resources the Biden administration sent was a grant. That's right, Anthony. We all know that. We were there. You can't have one administration of American president turning over a bunch of shit and then the next administration saying, "Oh yeah, hey, that shit that Joey gave you, yeah, you owe us for that now, right? You got a nice country here. Be a shame if something happened to it, huh?" That is the essence of American foreign policy right now. The gangster protectionist hitman extorting more from the victim. It is how he thinks, Shrimp Man. Hey, Shrimp Man, long time no see. How you doing, pal? Trump, for his part, was absolutely awful about all of this over the weekend. Not only did he refute the claims of our European allies that Ukraine's path to NATO is irreversible, he outright denied it as a possibility, saying, quote, "Ukraine can forget about NATO." Unbelievable. The one surety of security for this country, dismissed by a Putin puppet. He went on to say regarding Ukraine, "I don't want to spend money on Ukrainians anymore. The rare earth metals deal will bring us great wealth. We'll get all the money back, plus a lot more." He talks as if aid to a democracy under threat by an autocracy is an investment opportunity, and we are going to be able to squeeze out of the victim of Russia wealth for ourselves. It is disgusting. It is very difficult being an American of conscience right now, let me tell you. From what we understand about what's going to be signed tomorrow, the rare earths deal is not a deal. I want to stress that to everybody. What it is a loose framework for a deal. Now, guys, here's the good news. That's going to take months, maybe years. It's going to have to be approved. Well, normally it would have to be approved by Congress in the US. If Trump doesn't give a fuck about Ukraine's opinion about its peace, then he certainly doesn't give a fuck about treaties and congressional approval. All right, what does he need that for? So maybe it won't have to go through the Congress in the US, but it will have to go through the Ukrainian Rada. And right now, the framework for peace has no security guarantees. Well, Ukrainian Prime Minister Shimhal, who we don't talk much about, right? But Ukraine has a prime minister and a president. And the prime minister said the agreement with the U.S. on critical minerals is directly tied to security guarantees. No one will sign it without them. Now, that's a contradiction of what Trump is saying. Trump is laying it all at the feet of the Europeans. Trump says European countries, quote, will be responsible. Well, we'll see. Right now, we're just in the process of negotiating. General security for Ukraine won't be a problem, given that there are a lot of people who want to do that. And he may not be wrong about that there are a lot of people who want to help with the security of Ukraine. Ukraine's European allies certainly want to see a just and lasting peace because a state of continuous warfare here threatens European security. The UK, Germany, France, Italy, and other European countries are saying, according to Bloomberg, that they are ready to send troops to Ukraine to help secure a peace. Now, that's a big deal. And the only thing is, the Russians are denying flatly that they will accept European troops in Ukraine. The Russians are denying flatly that they will even go to peace negotiations or stop the war in any way. Sergei Lavrov yesterday said there will be no cessation of war in Ukraine along the contact line. He went on to say that Russia is not considering any options for deploying European peacekeepers in Ukraine. He went on to say that Russia and the U.S. will continue its unilateral negotiations without anybody else's input. And in fact, there is a meeting of representatives of the two countries in Istanbul today. Now, that meeting is supposed to be about a diplomatic framework moving forward. How do we restaff our embassies? How do we work together? And Lavrov said very disconcertingly to me, very menacingly, he said, quote, end quote, how these talks go will determine how fast we can move forward. Now, if that doesn't scare the shit out of you, I don't know what will. Sergei Lavrov talking about how quickly he can move forward is a very disturbing concept to me. He went on to blame Europe for undermining conflict resolution in Ukraine. Russia is insistent that any agreement disarms Ukraine. They want to make sure that Ukraine is demilitarized so that they are an easy victim once Russia reasserts its power in the world. He went on to say other things that are not worth repeating, which essentially denied the existence of Ukraine as a sovereign nation. There is, my friends, there is simply no doubt that this past week has been the most significant diplomatic week since World War II. We have seen the United States vote with North Korea, Venezuela, Belarus, and Russia against our European allies, against a simple resolution in the UN condemning Russia's aggression in Ukraine. We have seen the President of the United States blame Ukraine for this war, blame NATO expansion on this war, even though NATO hadn't expanded for 10 years before the invasion of Crimea, right? We have seen the President of the United States repeat Russian disinformation talking points to the President of France, who had to correct him on the record. We have seen a nominee for the Deputy Defense Director position refuse to say in congressional testimony that Russia invaded Ukraine, refuse to acknowledge the reality. We are living in a time where Uncle Scam here is offering U.S. citizenship to Russian oligarchs for $5 million fees. We're now the land of the fee, run by Uncle Scam. And even as the maggots see their president turn on them, destroy American farming, one of his principal bases, move against veterans' benefits and veterans' welfare, one of his principal bases, one of his strongest bases. This obscene, infantile narcissist that has subverted the American federal system to his will and realigned D.C. with the axis of evil of Moscow, Tehran, and Pyongyang. Even during all of this, what we see from the Ukrainian people is a resiliency, a politesse, and an outlook of indefatigable, undefeatable determination in the face of all betrayals and adversity. It is an extraordinary privilege to be here among them during this time. In other news today, we got great insight into how you ought to handle a piece of shit like Trump. Remember the the presidential elections in Romania? The first round of voting happened, I think, back in October. I want to say October 26th, if I'm not mistaken. And in that, a guy named Georgescu, who was a Russian mouthpiece who had called Ukraine a fictional state, who was clearly pro-Putin, pro-Russia all the way. He ran for office with no campaign budget at all, at least none that he declared. And he got like 18% of the vote. He did very well. He was like the number 2. Well, the next thing you know, the Supreme Court of Romania is throwing out those election results because the guy lied about his financing. He had accepted over $2 million, that we know of, $2 million worth of bot farm services from the Russians to spread disinformation in his favor, most of it on TikTok. TikTok was the platform that won him those votes, which is one of the reasons why it's such a dangerous platform, right? Lies spread and are easily believed by the credulous. Now, he was arrested. So not only was the election thrown out that he won, thanks to Russian election interference, just like Uncle Scam in the United States, but he was then arrested. They found millions of dollars in cash in his house, of course. The funny thing to me about the Russians is that they pay their stooges and spies in US dollars. The cash was bundled in $250,000 stacks of US $100 bills. Because who the fuck wants rubles, right? You don't know what it's going to be worth tomorrow. So they took him into custody, they arrested him, and they charged him with attempting to undermine the constitutional order. Sound like anybody we know? Inciting public violence to that end. Sound like anybody we know? Creating a fascist organization. Sound like anybody we know? And finally, falsifying election campaign finance data. Does that sound like anybody we know? Motherfuckers, what is wrong with my fellow Americans? How do we have this felon in the fucking White House? Unbelievable to me. Now, the Romanians are on a roll, baby. The Romanians are on a roll. The upper house of parliament just passed a law that will let the Romanian Air Force shoot down drones and missiles that invade their airspace. This is a big deal. The law was already passed by the lower house of parliament. It now goes to the president's desk for signature, and it's expected that it will be signed and passed into law. I think of this like with the tanks thing. Remember, there was a time when nobody would send tanks to Ukraine. Then the UK did it, then America did it, then everybody did it. Then it was okay to do. I'm hopeful that once Romania starts shooting down drones and missiles, maybe Poland, Slovakia, Moldova, they might do it too. And if they start doing it to missiles and drones that enter their airspace, well, we're only just one step away from them doing it to missiles and drones that appear to be about to enter their airspace. And then we're on a path to a no-fly zone west of the Dnipro. And that is what we could use, boy. That is what we could use. Okay, so one last item here. We saw massive, at least 128 Ukrainian drones pummel Crimea last night and the seaport in Krasnodar, the Tuapse seaport and oil refinery, to the point where the seaport had to be closed. The oil refinery is still burning. Russia is on fire today. All right, and that's it for me for the headlines kind of out of the news today. Questions, comments, points of observation? Hit the fucking Kremlin. I'm with you. Hey, Maddie Wright. Hey, Manda Bear. How badly Kharkiv was hit. Kharkiv has been so badly beaten up, Marzam. It's, but the city is still quite beautiful, I'll tell you. Though it is beaten up in places. I'm unaware of a recent hit on Kharkiv. If there was a hit today, I don't know about it. Trump said he doesn't remember calling Zelensky a dictator. How convenient is that? Thanks, Poppy Josh. Thanks for the dolphin. Is there another offer from Europe for minerals? Little Red, there's some kind of negotiations with some minerals in Ukraine. But remember, Ukraine's going to maintain most of its mineral resources for itself, even with the U.S. deal, assuming that there ever is one. Right, because just signing the framework tomorrow, Trump has signaled that that will mean a resumption of weapons deliveries to Ukraine. So I don't know that there ever has to be a mineral deal. Ukraine just has to get some more weapons from the U.S., beat Russia, and then it won't matter. That's the best outcome. Russia is on fire. The Tuapse oil refinery in Krasnodar cry. I do not know that Trump has extended Russian sanctions for another year. I have not heard that. So, Michael, unfortunately, yes. The donkeys, horses, mules, and even camels that the Russians are using now because they're now an 18th century army that doesn't have vehicles anymore. They are being targeted, of course, because they're loaded with ammunition, mortars, drones, supplies. Nothing. What are you going to do, pal? You got to do it. Would Russia attack if Americans are in their minds? You know, Anthony, I hear a lot of people saying this, but one of the things that Trump is not considering with this rare earths deal is how expensive and difficult it is. How there are no refining capabilities here. Oh, I don't know if you can hear it. There's an air alarm sounding. Air defense may become active. Anyway, so he's got to find people who are willing to invest money in a country at war to mine these minerals. Who the fuck's going to do that when it's a whole risky, financially risky operation in the first place? It is not just as easy as saying, oh yeah, here's a titanium deposit, let's get rich. If it were that easy, don't you think the fucking Ukrainians would be rich? It is not easy. It is not easy. And he's acting like it is. So just the fact that there is a framework in place so that they can talk about a deal. Right, Tony here says it will cost billions and lots of time to build it all. Yes, it will. Absolutely it will. Guys, I'm sorry. It's hard to keep up with the text scrolling. If you asked a question and I didn't answer it, please chat it in again. This is why Putin is rushing the deal with Trump. They are running low on everything. Ammunition, men, machines, all of it, yes. I wouldn't trust Trump on any deal either. Hey, Blue Ariel Silk. Europe might send troops to secure a ceasefire, not to defend rare earth mines. That's a great point, Pugamahone. Bip, I hope you're right, pal. I do. I hope you're right. Trump does change his mind every 5 minutes, Nightshade. Everybody, I appreciate Nightshade has the Peter's Peeps public group on the Book of Faces. So if you're on Facebook and you're not a member of Peter's Peeps, please join that Facebook page. Everybody thank Fitz. He's the sponsor of tonight's live, Dark Irish. And everybody please thanks Lars, who's got the Discord server, and Jay and Travis, the mods. Best mods on the Tickety Talk. Now, I mean, Ronald, if you support Trump, I feel sorry for you, pal. You are a victim of Russian propaganda. You are a useful idiot that is being used to subvert the lawful government of the United States. You are in a cult. You are a fool. And I feel sorry for you. And I feel sorry for what you're doing to our country. It's a crime and a shame. Rocket Man is sending more troops, gunnery men, artillery specialists, and rocket engineers. They are on their way. I don't think there's any chance that, right, remember, what he's signing tomorrow is not a deal. What Zelensky is supposed to sign tomorrow is a framework for a deal that by signing it will likely get him more U.S. weapons. Good enough for me. Trump did say that Putin was okay with EU peacekeepers in Ukraine. The Kremlin flatly denied that yesterday and today. We do not know how many North Korean soldiers are currently en route. South Korean intelligence did not give an estimate. And that's how we know they're on their way, is from South Korean intelligence. Thank you, Director Lib. How many Russian troops were alive today? 1,150, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have it in front of me. But, you know, every morning on X, Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky, I tweet those numbers out or post those numbers. So for anybody who's interested in daily overnight drone attack numbers and in losses of the Russian Federation, Please follow me on X, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram. Also, I'm very close to 1,000 followers on YouTube. If you would please follow me on YouTube and help me get to 1,000 followers. Running a special on membership on live sponsorships. We'll do shared sponsorships for $25. If you got $25, the PayPal is in the description. Fitz is talking about the one aircraft carrier that Russia has. It is a piece of shit that it cannot leave port. Can a unified Europe stop Russia? Would that unified group then provoke World War III, tough times all around? Director Lib, as far as we can tell, it appears to me that Russia is at its weakest state ever. Ever. Europe could certainly handle it at this point. Russia is literally tearing apart at the seams. Veteran Grandpappy, it's harder to hit the North Koreans en route than you might think. Once they get close to the front, I'm sure that's what the Ukrainians will try to do. But they are right now 9,000 miles away. That's tough. Hey, Jeff. Right, Jeff? Like, that's all they need is 6 more months. It cannot leave port. The point of it for many, many years has been as a sinkhole for money stolen by Russian admirals. So rather than repair the ship, the Russian admirals who command it steal all the money and keep it for themselves. That is the point of it. Hey, Karina, how you doing? Hey, everybody, say hi to Karina. Back from her latest circumnavigation of the globe. Back home here on the Tickety Talk. On Blue Sky, on most other platforms, my name is spelled correctly, Pytor. It's only here on TikTok where I'm Peter. Pytor Alexievich, which is a terrible name, I know. I regret using the whole name in retrospect. But that is my name. Sorry. Oh. Let me see. Can I chat it in here? Hold on. Just FYI. In most places on the internet, this is me here. There you go. Russia may not have aircraft carriers, but they have Navy with U-boats, including nukes. They do have nuclear-powered and nuclear-armed submarines. Yes, they do. They currently have an estimated 1,755 deployed nuclear warheads, intercontinental ballistic missiles. And that is why I think the West is so afraid of them. I think that's why we're tolerating Putin in the United States in the form of Donald Trump, because we are concerned that if Russia implodes, which it's going to do, that there will be loose nukes in the world or even a nuclear exchange. That is the great fear. But we can't be afraid of it. We got to deal with this. Russia's got to be denuclearized. They are too evil a threat in the world. They are a threat to the very continuance of civilization as we know it. Fear is a way to get people to do what you want. Aw, thanks, Karina. The UN is worthless in this because of Russia. Russia's got a veto power over everything. And so the UN is completely worthless. Thanks, man. Love you too, man. In a strictly platonic, fraternal way. Not in like a way, Not that there's anything wrong with that. France is unlikely to send nuclear-armed bombers east. The analysts that I listen to say that that's all very unlikely to happen. Trump needs to instill some fear into Russia. Vanificum. Russia has instilled fear in Trump, or if not fear, they have emboldened him. And this is not a new thing. Everybody remembers, right? In 1987, KGB flies him to Moscow, and in 1988, he has a short-lived, aborted run for the presidency in which he spent $1 million of his own money to take out a full-page ad in the New York Times saying that the U.S. should get out of NATO. That was in 1987, almost 40 years ago. Russia is playing the long game with this asset. It is shocking, Krina. It's unbelievable. Putin and Trump underneath the tree, Kissing. Trump is as weak as shit. So 730 billions is coming, boys. I assume that you're talking about the EU money to Ukraine. If the EU comes up with that, Zelensky can tell the US to go fuck itself. And right now, that's what he should do, because it's just like talking to Putin. Titch, I wouldn't worry about what gets signed tomorrow. What gets signed tomorrow is just a framework to discuss a deal within. It's not a deal. And in the meantime, Ukraine, it looks like, will get weapons. The Trump Gaza video is a joke that these idiots who are being trolled are now promoting. I mean, come on. Belly dancers with beards? Golden Trump balloon heads? 30-foot-high statues of golden Trump sitting by the pool in nothing but a swimsuit. Oh, I just threw up in my mouth a little. Ugh. And drinking a beer he doesn't drink. The video is a troll video. It's mocking him. And the idiot publishes it on his Truth Social because he's that fucking stupid. It's unreal. And his language is infantile. It is so difficult to listen to him talk because he sounds like such a child on the playground. And all of these people of power are afraid of him? What is wrong with the world? Where did everybody's fucking backbone go? When did Americans become so afraid and dumb? No, Lil Red, I know you're not. Fox News is the Twilight Zone. No, the Twilight Zone taught moral lessons. Fox News teaches that the worse a person you are, the more money you will have. I don't know who told you that Americans can read and write, but illiteracy rates in the United States are less than 1%. Yeah, I saw that Elon was in the cabinet meeting. He had no business being there. Nick, I'm sorry. I'm an American, so I don't recognize your flag. What country are you in? Marzome, I assure you, Kyiv is still a beautiful city, and after this war, it's going to be even more beautiful. Night, Nightshade. Comprehension is a problem. Oh, Lithuania! We love the Baltics, man. The Ukrainians love the Baltics. As a percentage of GDP, you guys are like the top 3 givers to Ukraine, and they appreciate it. There's someone on the wing of the plane, Mary. I don't know. Did I say he was a dictator? I don't remember that. Why does Trump keep putting his hand on the knees of the statesmen he travels to meet? Because he's like a chimp exerting dominance over other chimps. Thanks, Bip. I could use some help on the Patreon, guys. I'm very pleased to announce I just got my 100th subscriber. There are now 100 people that support this channel, and I really appreciate it, everybody. It was a guy called Integral, became number 100. And I have a bunch of new Patreon supporters that I should really welcome in. And you can be one of them. Join the Patreon. You know, I lost a bunch of subscribers. We were down about 15% on the Patreon, but we've recovered now to where we were before those losses. And it sure would be nice to get that up above $1,400 a month, which is what I live on, which is why also daily sponsorships are so important. Okay. What time have we got here? It is 3 minutes to the top of the hour. What kind of patriot you are? I'm a real patriot. I'm a real fucking patriot. I listen to what the maggots say about America, right? How it's a white country. It's a Christian country. Bullshit. You think that because you've never left your small hometown of 1,000 fucking people. In the 2 years before I came to Ukraine, I had an RV, a motorhome. I visited 24 states, traveled 11,000 miles. I met people of every color, shape, and description. In this country that's supposed to be a white Christian nation, have you noticed that every one of the largest cities has a China fucking town? Have you noticed that? Or it's got a little Italy? Or it's got, I mean, come on, a little Saigon? Give me a fucking break. Houston has a Saigon district, a Chinatown, a little Havana, and a couple more, an Afghan section where a bunch of Afghan interpreters and their families who helped in the war ended up settling because they were embedded with a bunch of guys from Texas, right? So they're all in Houston now. Tell me what America is? Fuck you. They don't know what America is. They have the parochial vision of the racist, sexist, uneducated, backward country folk. And they do not know their own history. They lie about it to themselves. And we cannot afford to do that anymore, America. Because today we are living in a world where a guy in Georgia bought an old Southern plantation because he knew he was descended from the plantation owner. And in doing so, found out he was also descended from the plantation slaves. These two histories, the history of people of color and Native Americans, and the history of European settlers in America, must be reconciled into a unified understanding of who we are as a nation. And to deny the existence and contributions of half of the people in the country is an obscenity and a violation of all reason. So that's who I am. That's absolutely who I am. So anyway, it's about the top of the hour, guys. It's 1 a.m. here in Kyiv. Again, I want to thank Dark Irish, not just for sponsoring this live, but for really being a good buddy who is an ongoing supporter of this channel. He's one of the people that makes it happen. Along with many, and there are many people, right? Bobby is one. Dan Ballard is one. Lars is one. Ballerina, huge supporter. Chris Carter, huge supporter. You guys are the best. And that doesn't even count like the Scandinavians and the Europeans like Weibo and Arn and everybody else. Together, I hope we're making a difference. I hope so. I hope so. Anyway, in this time of ignorance, go out and learn something. Don't give in to despair. In this time of lies, aggressively pursue the truth and ignore those who refuse to either believe the truth or insist on believing lies. The two ways to be fooled in this world. Do something for yourself. Take care of yourself. Resist. All right, ladies and gentlemen, other non-binary folks. Thanks, Esteban. Hey, Esteban, long time no see, pal. Karina, so nice of you to drop by. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you more on the Tickety Talk. Good night, Manda Bear. Good night, everybody. Good night, Van. All right, make it a great day, folks. Make it a great day.